songs I delighted to hear. Long, long ago, now you are come, all my grief is removed. Let me forget that so long you have roamed. Let me believe that you love as you loved long, long ago.
Well, hello again, and welcome to another edition of Beverly's Times Past. Ed Joseph's here, and tonight our subject is going to be the Beverly Airport. And with us this evening, two very fine guests, one of whom is very familiar with our program, Mr. Richard Symmes, author of the fine book North Beverly Remembered. Welcome, Dick, to the program.
Thank you.
And Mr. Paul Larcom, who has spent a lifetime of gathering data and being very interested in the comings and goings up at the Beverly Airport. Paul, nice to have you on the show.
Nice to be here.
A little background information on you to begin with here. You're a graduate of Beverly High School in 1952.
Yes.
And then you attended Northeastern University for a brief period of time. And in 1956 you joined up with the Navy and involved with aircraft and airplanes at that point.
Yes.
Why don't you take it from there and tell us what you've been doing with yourself since that point in your life?
Well, I did enjoy the naval aviation at the Quonset Point Naval Air Station, and that's the category of aviation which I've been most interested in, and I was very fortunate to be based there, being close to home, being able to get home on weekends, most weekends. I really got interested in aviation when my parents first brought me up to the Beverly Airport around 1937-38 period. When you're young, first impressions are lasting impressions, and from that point on I've always been interested in aviation, although I haven't actively gotten into it as a flyer, but I'm a historian and a collector of aviation books and models and so forth.
You were telling me that as a youngster you started collecting magazines from the point of time when you actually could begin to read and understand the printed matter. And,
yes, right.
And you went through the whole collection of kits, model kits, with the putting them together. Rich, we know all about those, don't we, when we were kids?
Yes, we certainly do.
With all the various models and things that we could get into. Well, after the Navy, Paul, what happened to you then?
Well, I studied for drafting. I liked drafting in high school, and I had all the drafting courses in the Northeastern, and I started drafting at Western Electric in North Andover, and from there I went to ITEC Corporation as a draftsman, and from ITEC, Beswick Engineering, and then from Beswick Engineering finally into GE, where I hope to finish off my career. And coincidentally, this is to do with aviation. It's the GE aircraft engines, which I am in at the moment, and I've been there since 1976.
Well, to this day, then you're still not only interested but working with the aircraft engine over at the GE.
Yes, so it's not only a hobby with me, but it's a vocation.
One point I have in my notes here, you even married a girl from Winthrop, you were telling me, whose home happened to be right down at the end of one of the runways, Logan Airport.
Yes, right across from runways the 33 at the northern end of the field there, and, about 100, probably 1,000 feet from the end of the runway.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about the room down at the Historical Society where all of this wonderful material is collected and is in files down there. Rich, this is, you were telling me before the program, all part of the Walker collection?
Yes, that's right, Ted. It's basically a collection of railroad material, but there's also a lot of other things. Planes are a big part of it, and since Paul knows so much about aviation, we naturally have put him in charge of that particular area of the collection. And we have photographs of most of the significant aviation aspects of New England, a lot of the airports, a lot of the various types of aircraft right up to the present day.
This is one of the finest collections of photographs, Paul and Rich, that I have ever seen. And it's just a wonderful, as I say, assortment of pictures, most of them relating to the Beverly Airport, which, you know, many people, I'm sure, will have not ever seen before,
Yes, actually what started off the aviation collection down there was the fact that the Boston Maine Railroad had an airline called the B&M Airways, which became Northeast Airlines back in late 1940. And where it was supported by the Boston Maine Railroad, we thought that would be a very appropriate category to add to the collection. And after that subject was covered, I went into the Beverly Airport subject and Warbird subject and other airlines and other airports in New England, and it's just blossomed from that point.
And alongside of this collection, Rich, is your fine North Beverly collection of photographs, over 600 of them.
Yeah, that's up in the General Archives at the Historical Society, and we continue to add to that and hope that people watching, if they see anything North Beverly in their travels or in their attics, you know, by all means, make sure that we find out about it at Beverly Historical Society.
Surely. Well, getting right down to it now, we have some fine photographs here to show. I guess we all could mention the name of Charles Lindbergh, Paul, as one of the people who I guess would be most responsible for the interest in aviation back in the mid-20s.
I would say so. The country became quite air-minded after his flight in 1927, and quite a few airports sprung up about that time in the 27 to 29 period, including Beverly Airport. And in the fall of 1927, three Chamber of Commerce members, Russell Bosworth, Fred Newman, and Robert Robertson, were golfing at the Shoe Golf Club, and an aircraft made a forced landing there. And they thought, well, why can't there be an airport in the area for these flyers rather than to cause a possible accident on a golf course, an airport for people to land on. As a quotation, they called it as a place for those fellows to use. And these people really started the idea of an airport in Beverly, and there was a group of interested people that had heard of the Chamber of Commerce's interest in starting an airport, and they started holding meetings down at the Beverly Historical Society late in 1927, and including Philip Grush, Walter Gardner, James Hamilton, and others. And
we have a picture here of J. Wyman Allen and Pliny Hussey. Now, would those two fellows be part of the originating group?
Yeah, they would have met along with Mr. Grush and the others
we'll show
at the
these
society.
In just a moment here.
I can also say that the Chamber of Commerce was really instrumental in starting the Aero Club. They supported them and they assisted them in starting the group, and they switched their meeting place from the Historical Society to the Chamber quarters. And the Chamber did form a committee to look into the feasibility of an airport, and Jack Kelleher had found out about the group of fellows that were golfing, and he was the one that really started the Chambers
The ball rolling.
committee.
Yeah. Well, we have here a number of things that occurred. First of all, the Aero Club was formed, and of the fellows that you were just talking about. Then there had to be some leasing of land, Paul.
Yes.
Tell us about that. Where the land, who owned that land at the time and all.
Yeah, all right. Well, before the land was leased, the Aero Club came into existence in March of 1928 with the assistance of the Chamber of Commerce. And following the formation of the Aero Club, they went scouting around the Beverly area for possible landing sites. And Wyman Allen being one of this group, who was experienced in aircraft construction, headed up this group, and they narrowed it down to two sites, the last site of which was the site chosen for the airport in North Beverly, which was called Birch Plains. And this site was owned by Mr. and Mrs. Adna Swift of North Beverly. They lived on the corner of Route 97 and what was to become the airport road leading into the airport. And once then they leased the land from them, and once the lease was established, then they started to work on the field themselves, the Aero Club members. And Charles Hood of the Hood's Farm, he assisted them with dynamite in trying to blow the walls down, and the city assisted them and by grading the field for them. And it was really a back-breaking job for these volunteers of the Beverly Aero Club.
Now we're talking 1928, summer of 28, or 7 here?
This would be 28,
1928.
in the period of March to April and thereabouts.
Okay, so we have the field taking shape at this point in time, 1928.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
In April of 28, the first landing was made by Captain Edson, who was a manager of Boston Airport, who declared the field a suitable spot for a flying field.
Probably because he got down safe, Richard.
Yeah. And the field was mainly a north-south layout, with it being about 1,500 feet long by only 800 feet wide. And later on, Charles Hood decided to loan some more land, another 10 acres, to the present 20-acre field, so that a east-west runway could be built.
So at this point now we're talking about 28 acres of land up there on the field at that point
around 30 acres.
Yeah.
Yes.
We might mention also that Charles Hood was the owner of the H.P. Hood farm.
Cherry
right,
farm,
Rich?
yes.
And we've done some things with Mr. Hood and his fine dairy farm that he had up there. You have some pictures in the collection that we've shown before.
That's right.
And that was quite an attraction up there for many years.
It was always a good place to watch the airport from, too.
Yes, absolutely.
As well as going up to see the milk business. You could look right down back there, and you've got a fine view of the airport.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead, Paul. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, you weren't interrupting me?
So we're
So we've got the Aero Club formed and the field in pretty good shape. And in April of 1928, the lease was taken over by the city of Beverly from the Aero Club because they saw a lot of possibilities of an airport in Beverly. And they wanted to be able to support the field and be able to do more with the field if they owned the lease. So they decided on June of 1928 to dedicate the field as the Beverly Municipal Airport. And Philip Grush, who was the president, he introduced to the crowd of people there Mayor Patch,